Here's the question. What's going on inside the minds of top achievers that cause them to make extraordinary breakthroughs both personally and professionally? My name is Tim Shurr, and I invite you to join me as we take a deep dive into the unconscious mind and discover how to transform your biggest dreams into a reality. Welcome to the How to Be Mesmerizing podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to How to Be Mesmerizing. It's Tim Shurr, and we have another legend in the house today. Lisa Patrick is with us. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tim. I don't know about legend, maybe in my own mind.
Well, you are a part of our third annual Legend Summit. So now you can put it on your resume. So let me share with our listeners who you are. So Lisa puts you in the driver's seat of your personal brand. She's a successful serial entrepreneur, investor, speaker, leader, and former private investigator. We're going to learn more about that in a bit. She's known for her unique ability to quickly make complex principles simple to execute so that entrepreneurs and business owners and leaders can reach their fullest potential, specifically with their businesses. So she's also written a book with our mutual friend, Jim Cathcart, titled Intelligent Curiosity, The Art of Finding More. And if you go to Amazon, you can check that out right now. So Lisa, let's dive into that brilliant mind of yours. So how do you help people create a personal brand, and why is that so important?
Well, I think in today's day, here's the thing, is whether you like it or not, you have an online footprint and you better take control of it. And I think that's the most important thing. I mean, I have two daughters, 16 years old, and I own their URL addresses. .ca, .com. And if you're listening right now, I implore you, if you have children, please, please, please buy their URL addresses. Take control of the message. I think that's really important. And I think we forget that whether we're an employee in an organization of tens of thousands, or we're a solopreneur, we're an entrepreneur, we do have an online footprint and we need to take control of that and what that looks like. And brand is so very important and often overlooked in the beginning because people are busy thinking, I just need a logo and I need a website. I'm going to slap it up and away I go, which is great. But when you start to think about your business and scaling, you have to be more intentional and really be curious about what does that look like and how is that perceived, more importantly.
Yeah, very good. I have two boys, 14 and 17, and I've owned both of their URLs for years. So that is very wise advice. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I agree. We have a digital footprint. We want to control the story, and that's what your personal brand really is. So I think that's smart advice. So there seems that after going through all the information that you have and all the great information that you put out into the world with your blueprint, there seems to be four key elements that you use to help thought leaders stand out. They are stay relevant, control the narrative, create a greater impact, and make more meaningful contributions. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, early in my career, I worked a lot with public speakers, just like you do, Tim, and, legends, like true legends have this, knowledge and wisdom and expertise. And one of the things that I learned along the way when I started to work in corporate and really truly working with the C-suite who are transitioning out of C-suite, but are looking to take what's up here and bring it to the market, but they really don't know how to do that. They want, they're a legend in the halls where they are. And we talked a little bit about this, right? Like you talked about Les Brown stating that, he's got just the right amount of, what did you call it? Fame, if you will, right? When he's in the room, he's got all this fame, but when he leaves and he walks away and he's walking in the airport, nobody knows who he is.
Yes.
And that happens for people who are in corporate. Yeah. They've been, sweat, grind, working many hours, whether it's $1 million company I've worked with or a $500 million corporation. They are a legend in the halls and on the walls in those particular organizations. But when they leave, how do they feel that emotional connection to continue to create meaningful contribution, to really belong moving forward? And that's the struggle. That's how the framework really works, is it's about asking intelligently curious questions to really decipher, how do we create that meaningful contribution, that brand, that voice moving forward, whether it's a product or a service like a knowledge-based service. And so brand is essential in those four components, most certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Les also told me that he is a student of success. And that's how you develop yourself. And I will tell you from experience that if you want to get ahead as a speaker or business owner or a thought leader in any way, hire Lisa and map out the brand. Because it's so hard to do it on your own, because you're thinking about it on, you're lost in the forest, you can't see the trees anymore. And you drive yourself crazy. Yeah. Trying to figure it out.
It's crazy, Tim, because this happens to me. So God, please, if you're out there, somebody help me. Like, I'm not ashamed to say it is so difficult to see my own shit. Yeah. But to see somebody else's is so easy for me. It's so easy to see, what does it look like? What's the process? What's the strategy? What's the implementation? How do you scale? All those questions. What's the message, right? What's the story that we're selling? What's the transformation that you have? Tim, how do you make a transformation in somebody's life? That's the question you need to ask yourself. And that's the market message and the voice of your brand that needs to be consistently out there. When you have that, but to see it myself, oh my Lord, I'm the kitchen sink of everything. And I don't know how to, that's just the reality.
Well, everybody has their superpowers. But you don't own all the superpowers. And so if you're really brilliant at what you do, they're probably not going to be really brilliant at packaging it or distributing it or marketing it or, setting up autoresponders. And you shouldn't be spending your time doing that. You should be focusing on your superpower. And that's the part that you excel at. Hire others, or if you don't have the funds, then collaborate with others and trade services and trade superpowers.
Yeah, 100%. Dan Sullivan says his best, what is your unique ability? Yeah. Right. He talks about that. He wrote a book about it. I'm a huge fan of Dan Sullivan's. And that is really, once you find that out, that's the ticket to the key to the kingdom, right? Yeah. Whatever success for you is defined as, because not for everybody is it monetary, right? It's, it's impact or it's contribution, or it could be even the fact that, success for you is defined as the relationships that you have in your inner circle of trust. Mm-hmm. It doesn't always have to be monetary. And I think we forget that. And we're so focused on ROI, return on investment in a monetary, we forget about all the other, what's at the edges of that success that's really important.
Yeah, well said. I have found from experience, if you chase the money, it runs away.
Well, there are some people who believe, the more attention attracts money, but, I don't know. I guess it's got to be the right attention, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't like that idea of any publicity is good publicity. I think that is not controlling your brand or your narrative.
And today, and there's so much shaming and
cancel culture.
We have kids that are around the same age, Tim, and it's a constant worry about what is happening online now, right? So that's why brand is just so important now more than ever.
Yeah, for sure. I shudder to think if we had iPhones when I was a teenager.
Oh, good Lord. Although, having said that, when I was a private investigator, I would have died to have the internet the way that it is today. Back then I had to do it old school way. I mean, I had a bag with the camera lens inside, walking around. I had to use this to really create the story in order to ask the right questions to find out the right answers, right? So I guess maybe that was a good thing. But again, the internet would have been my friend for sure.
Yeah. Well, since you brought that up, I'm going to go out of order a bit with my questions here. So tell me about that private investigator and how that ended up, you starting there and ending up being an amazing speaker, author, and brand expert. It's a long, bumpy road. Let's put it that way. It was never an easy path, but I was that kid, Tim, that when I was growing up, how some kids, I'm going to be this or I'm going to be that, or they don't know what they want to be, right? But I was that kid I was going to be a cop, period. There was
it was a straight line to exactly to that goal, to that destination. And I never wavered. And my dad was an RCMP officer. So I don't really know if that had much to do with that, or if it's just my innate skill of curiosity and just wanting to learn more. I'm not too sure. But when I finally did achieve the goal, and I worked in the city of Edmonton in sex crimes for about 6 months, I went, this is not where I want to be. And I learned a lot of great skills along the way. And then I ended up in the private investigation, which then actually ended me to a road to Miss Patricia Fripp.
Oh, yes.
And that's really where my story now has began. And I'll just share a little bit. So I was a board member for the Private Investigators of Alberta. And there was a gentleman by the name of Dave Rodwell. And Dave was a retired security officer, or RCMP actually, who then now was talking about like corporate security, and was a professional speaker. And one day after a meeting, we're sharing over a glass of whiskey, because I like my whiskey. He said, you know, there's somebody coming to town. I think you need to come and listen to her. Her name is Patricia Fripp, and she's this Hall of Fame professional speaker, and she's a speech coach, and she's coming to teach, you know, at the time, Ed Stelmach was in power here in Canada and Alberta, and coming to teach government officials, and, you know, who's who in the zoo is going to be at this place, and you should come. And I'm thinking, why would I want to go when I was just in a bar last night with the belly out to here, pretending I was somebody else, recording in my camera, right? I don't want to be in front of the stage. I don't want to be the center of attention. I'm trying to hide in the background. But I went, and my life was forever changed, as it is if you know Fripp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, fast forward, when I left that day, I said, I'm going to do business with her somehow, somewhere, someday. Don't know what that looks like. And fast forward many years later, after I've been working in the training sector with a professional business coach here in town, trying to get his content accredited, I knew that Fripp was a person that I needed to speak to move that business forward. And so I reached out to her, and that really opened the floodgates to absolutely this whole new world that I knew nothing about. And I was just mesmerized by her first and foremost, but by the opportunities that landed with that. So I think the most important thing is that when you are an investigator, a personal investigator of your own life, never, ever not walk through the door when the opportunity knocks.
Ooh, oh, that was good. That was very good. Very good. Wow. Excellent. So what does RCMP stand for? Royal
Canadian Mounted Police.
Oh, okay.
So that's our national, right, division of policing, and then every city has its own.
It sounds very fancy.
Yeah, it sounds fancy, but it's, you know, one of the oldest professions, I would say, here in Canada, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that you know, people who are real masters at their craft, I have noticed, are always complimenting and giving credit to those who were there for them and who inspired them. And Patricia Fripp is absolutely one of those legends who has touched the lives of so many people. And I have
learned so much from that woman, not just about speaking on stage and how to present yourself more powerfully, right? But just in life and business in general. I mean, she is just truly an unbelievable soul. Soul.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to reach out to her today and tell her how much fun I had hanging out with you.
And for those of you who are listening, if you want to learn from the great Patricia, I have to do the plug. Go to frippvt.com, because that's where you'll find her. Yeah.
She's one of the best presentation skills experts in the world. And so, if not the best. So
I would beg to say the best.
All right. We're saying the best. She's the best. Number one.
Yep.
So, all right. Very good. Okay. So you have said that your personal brand and your company brand are different.
Yes.
So what's the difference between your personal brand and your company brand?
Yeah. So I wrote a whole white paper on this, actually, because I think that organizations get this wrong. And I don't believe that it's by purpose. It's just we live in a completely different world now. And it used to be, I've got one client who's told me, years in the C-suite, and she said, it was a real juggling act with our employees of how much leeway did we give them to the opportunity to win awards on behalf of themselves for the work that they did as a team in the company. And it's a fine line, right? But today's day, the best organizations have recognized that when employees share their personal story, the learning experiences that happen within an organization, massive awareness happens, because the brand around the employee and the share that happens on social media is much greater than what the organization can do. I think it's like 561% greater in share, right? In people actually engaging and wanting to know more about that organization than if the organization actually just told their purpose. But when the employee says, this is my individual purpose, and this is how it's aligned with the company's brand and purpose, that is so much more powerful than the organization going out and pushing on social media or telling what their brand is and how the employees are aligning with it. Sounds very rough and not it's very gnarly, right? But the other way is much more engaging. And so when organizations start to recognize and create policies for employees to help elevate the brand, when they're engaged, when an employee is truly, truly engaged with the company and feels like they belong, they will be your best advocate. And no money, no ad spend on Facebook can replace the value of an employee really feeling like they belong and moving the purpose of the company and the individual purpose alongside each other.
Outstanding. That is such a powerful insight that as leaders, we want to build the policies and build the systems that naturally convey the message. So you have authenticity. And when people feel that and they feel cared and you've created meaningful work for them, you will increase engagement like nothing else you can do.
Absolutely.
Friday pizza parties will not compare.
Exactly. Exactly. It's all the work that I do. So I co-founded a company with a gentleman by the name of Lauren Robis, and multiple other great people. And our team really does work at Belongify. And that is the core of what we believe. When people feel like they can show up, contribute, and have meaningful conversations as themselves, they belong. And when they belong, they advance everything forward. And that, right now in remote teams is so important. Yeah. How do we make that connection? It's always, I've lived the philosophy of connection over content. Give. You don't need to make the ask because you will get in return, right? And so when we drive organizations and leaders, we equip leaders because we can't do the work for the leader, but we can equip them with the right tools to really create conditions of belonging. People it's like a magnet, magic, true magic happens. And it happens not only at the organizational level, but it can happen for the personal brand. True leaders have really recognized that, I believe anyways, that when you elevate the person, you elevate your brand. And that is the key to success. Truly.
Wow. That's awesome.
It's funny, Tim. I think we are really moving into a completely different world. I think, you and I, we've lived in the entrepreneurial world. Zoom was always our friend. Hybrid meetings, remote meetings, always, part of our life, right? But the past, if we go back the past, 12 to 16 months, for a lot of people, that was a massive change in the way that they do business, the way that they operate, the way that they connect with people. And we have Zoom fatigue now because of it. So it's our responsibility as individuals, first and foremost, but even more so as leaders, to really understand the value of connection and connection over content. And that's falls in line with personal brand, corporate brand, everything that we do. It should be about connection first.
Yeah, I agree. That's, a big movement is bringing humanity back into the workplace. And one study said that we are going to put 90,000 hours of our life into work. So we should be able to do it where we feel a sense of fulfillment instead of just waiting for Friday. So
I can't imagine, because it's been a long time since I've felt this, like a very long, because I love business. I love being an entrepreneur. I love every person that I get in contact with. Well, not everyone, but most.
Sure.
Oh, my daughter's up. That's what's going on. I'm like, sorry, but okay. I was thinking, okay. What's that noise in the background? Yeah. But anyways, now I lost my total train of thought.
We were talking about how you elevate people and make them feel belong.
Yes. So I think, like I said, we're moving into a totally different world now in these hybrid meetings. And I think when we really invite people into our world, and I hate the word authentic because I think it's so overused, but if we're just real, right? Like just real, that resonates with people. That's what creates and moves needles in so many different ways.
Well, that's why having policies in place shows that you're walking the talk. You're not promising you're going to do all this stuff, and then it just sounds like, hearsay and a lot of lip service. But you've actually built policies in place that, create that sense of psychological safety or inclusiveness or diversity, or a place where people actually feel like their ideas are being heard, or they can give feedback to leaders, right, without consequences. I mean, when you build policies in place like that, then it does feel more real. Yeah,
it does. I think, though, a policy is just like a legal agreement. It's just an agreement until somebody enforces it, right? And so I think you have to live that policy, live those procedures, right? Yeah. And more importantly, I think that belonging. I mean, you can invite somebody. I'm a woman. I want to be invited to the table, but I don't want to be invited to the table because I'm a woman. I want to be invited because I belong there.
Yeah.
That's the most important. And all of us, Black, white, gay, straight, old, young, like, I don't care. We just want to belong at that table and be able to show up as ourselves and have meaningful contribution.
Absolutely. Well said. That's why when we talk about diversity, we also say and inclusion. Because if you just bring other people to your organization that look different, and you don't allow them to contribute or feel included, or give them a fair chance at promotions or attending meetings or sitting at the table, then you're not really doing anything. You've missed the point.
Yeah. Well, and that's the key, right? The missing piece of that, is diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And when you have a belongified organization, you have a company that advances forward together.
Very good. Very good. This kind of talks about it as well. You talk about a relevancy framework that keeps you from being overlooked as a leader. So what is a relevancy framework, and why is that important?
It's what I use internally with my clients. So it's really about, often when they're transitioning out of the C-suite or an entrepreneur who's really thinking about how do they take the collective years of wisdom and experiences and come back out into the market in a unique and different way. I use the knowledge framework, and it's really a series of questions, and you have to work with me to find out what they are. But it's a series of questions to really unpack what does that look like, and how do you really go back out into the market in the right kind of way with the right process and the right strategy. And it's about strategically thinking, and that gets often overlooked. Especially when you have had all these resources at your fingertips. You've walked out of corporate and typically you're a vision. If you've ever read the book Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman, typically you're the visionary, and you have all these integrators that just pick up the pieces and make everything happen. Now, all of a sudden you're walking out and you're going up, right? And where's your integrators? Where's the resources? You're back at square one and you don't know where to go and how to do it. And so that relevancy framework really is the ticket to the kingdom, if you will, and the right kind of way in how you go back out into the market.
Nice, nice. So you say when leaders lose their title or leave their position with a company, that you have a program that helps them step out, not step down. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So back to a little bit to the relevancy framework as part of that. And often I'll get asked to really, my secret sauce is where I love the most, Tim, is in that startup phase. Here's my idea. How do I get it to market? How do I build the brand in the right kind of way with the right strategy so that I'm ready for scale? And often we talked about this earlier about how entrepreneurs will go out into the market space, or business leaders who have transitioned out and are looking, and it's very much like the military. You are this legend and now you don't have anything at your resources, and it's a whole different world, entrepreneurship, than in corporate. And how do I make everything happen? I am not like that. I don't have the resources. I don't know how to do that. But the most successful find people like me and others who really truly understand how to deploy that. And that's really how the zone of genius works in my world. And I've got the right resources that is just really, how do you simplify and fast track it so you don't make the same mistakes? Because God knows I made enough of them along the way.
Well, people often are, they're paying you to shorten their learning curve, right? Yeah. You've already made all the mistakes. You've already gone through the years of being scrappy and trying to figure it out on your own. And so now when they hire you, they're hiring you to, so that they don't have to, they're collapsing timeframes, right? So I don't have to spend the next 10 years figuring this out. You already did that. Help me so I can get it done in the next 6 months. Exactly. That's the value.
Here's a story. So many, many, many years ago, I don't know, I would say 9 years ago. My website was held hostage by the developer. And I didn't know it because I don't know what I don't know. Just like anybody who's starting out in business. And often, in the last 2 weeks, I've had this conversation 5 times with 5 different, some colleagues, some clients. I thought that I owned my website. I thought that it was backed up. I thought that I had full administrative access to it. And I found out that I didn't. And because of that, I sat in a room. I didn't say, I don't do that. I didn't say, I don't have the resources. And I didn't say, I don't know how to do that. You just figure it out, right? You just figure it out. So I locked myself in a room for 5 days and I learned how to write code. I learned how to create websites. I learned how to get server access, everything that I need. Learned what's a plugin. Didn't even know what that was, right? Yeah. And after 5 days, I built myself a 522 page website.
Holy smokes.
And then I went back to the developer and told him to kiss my ass and see you later. Because how dare you hold me hostage and think you can get away with that?
Yeah.
Right? I think, it's a very scary world when your business relies on an e-commerce website and you don't know what you don't know. And so I implore folks out there, one, always, if you get a website built, get the developer to give you the backup files. And it's not a file, it's typically 5 files. So that if, God forbid, your developer got hit by a bus tomorrow, at least you'd have control of your site, or you could reload it, or you could do what you needed to do. There's nothing worse than being held hostage to your own business. And those are some of the experiences that I've had to learn the hard way. And I don't want anybody else to go through that.
Yeah. Very good advice. Very good advice. So you wrote this book with Jim, Intelligent Curiosity. What's the book about?
It is a labor of 2.5 years of love and a lot of Zoom calls.
Yeah. Yes. So what do people get from the book?
Well, they learn how to find more in life and in business, because we innately are curious, right? We all have that curiosity skill built within us. And as kids, we're highly curious. But as we grow up, for some reason, somehow, that innate sense of curiosity gets just dampered a little bit as we go, whether life experiences or what have you. But Jim and I really want to say, you know what? It's about finding more in life. How do you become more curious? How do you become more intentional? How do you become more strategic, focused, intentional about finding more on life, in business? And when we do that and we ask ourselves what else might be happening, when we look to find the beyond the obvious, because it's really easy. We all open the fridge and we look and we're looking for the ketchup, and we can find the ketchup easily. But what else is there that might be the replace of the ketchup, right? It's really about finding more, finding unique and different opportunities that are really already there. We just don't see them because we're so busy looking at the center and we're not looking at the edges. It's like a picture frame, right? We're so stuck inside the picture that we can't actually see the edges of the frame. And that is where the magic is. That's where the discovery is to be made.
That is really exciting, because that is a piece of the puzzle that most people are terrible at. You know, they're not looking for the creative opportunities. They're looking at what's showing up. They're looking at surface level, like you said, the middle of the picture frame. They're not saying, where's the opportunity here? And your book gives them a roadmap and a set of strategies and questions that they can use to be able to recognize the clues that are in front of them that they can't see. And that's very exciting.
Yeah. You know, we're all really good. Tim, you and I are really good at seeing things through. But the problem is we can't see through things. And so the goal of the book is to really allow people to see through things. How do you look at things differently? How do you find, like Jim calls that, blinding flash of obvious, right? That you didn't know was there because you were so busy, focused, and unintentional and unstrategic about looking for more and discovering more. And when you find that, that's where your magic happens. Wow. And so that's our goal, is to really try to activate curiosity in an intelligently curious way.
Very nice. So where can people find your book and find out more about you, Lisa?
Amazon. You can go to my website, lisapatrick.ca. You can go to intelligentcuriosity.com. You can find the legend, Jim Cathcart at cathcart.com. Any social media feed, both him and I are there. We're pretty easy to find.
Outstanding. Lisa, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for all the great content and for being a mesmerizing guest on the show today.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate the opportunity and always am forever grateful. I finally have got to meet Tim. I've heard so much about you for so many years. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Tim. You ever wonder why so many talented, hardworking entrepreneurs and business owners struggle with inconsistent self-belief or high stress or procrastination or self-sabotage? Well, the answer may surprise you, and the solution is already inside of you. I've been searching for the answers to this for decades, and I found them, and I put it into a new program called The Power of Your Unconscious Mind, Mental Secrets for Accelerating Success. And because you're a listener, I want to give you a free VIP copy. Head over to powermindsetprogram.com. That's powermindsetprogram.com and grab your copy today.